Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Heathered Knits podcast. I am your host, Heather, and I want to thank all of you for spending a little bit of time with me today, taking some time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with me a little bit while I talk about what I've been knitting, some things that have been going on in my life, and whatnot. So I appreciate that. If you are coming back, thank you so much for coming back. I know it's been a hot minute since I have recorded anything, but I'll kind of get into that a little bit later when I talk about some things that have been going on in my life. For those of you who are new and just stopping by, thank you so much for stopping and checking me out. I am really glad that you're doing that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. So today is Saturday, March 5th. We are already into March. It has been a year and we're only done with 2 months of it. So things have been a little tricky and a little bit challenging on my end to really record anything, to engage very much. Things have just been a little bit rough. And I'll talk about that later in the life section. So if you're not interested in that and you just want to see what I've been knitting, that's completely fine. You don't have to stick around for that, but I'll wait and go into that a little bit later. So it is March. It's supposed to be a beautiful day here in mid-Michigan where I live. I live in a home that I own with my 2 children, Abby, who is 16, and Philip, who is 11. And yeah, so the weather is supposed to be pretty nice today. I think they're saying we might even get to 60 degrees, which is amazing. I'm not going to hold my breath for it because it is Michigan and you just never know. So instead of talking about the weather and all of those things, I'm just going to jump in to what I have been knitting, show you what I've been working on. I have 1 finished object, 2 half-finished objects, and then a work in progress that's been ongoing. So the first thing that I will show you is my finished object. So I know it's been a little while, but the last time I recorded, I was working on a pair of tube socks for Philip. I was working on tube socks because he is an 11-year-old boy, and I know he's going to hit a growth spurt and grow a bunch. And I thought, since this is kind of impending and can happen at any time, I'm gonna knit some tube socks. That way he can just wear them as long as he wants to. I can always go back in and add an afterthought heel at some point if I so desire. I don't know that I will, but that's always an option. But for right now, they're just tubes. So these are the tube socks. They're very long, mainly because, there's the foot, and then I wanted lots of space so that they can be a little bit taller for him. These are a Drops Fable is the yarn that I use. I can't recall what the colorway is. I have been being a lot better with updating my Ravelry page. So if you go and click on the link, or down below, it tells you my Ravelry username. So if you are curious about what these are looking like, or what that colorway number is, I think you can go and look on my Ravelry page and it will tell you. So if you're curious, that's where it is. But these are the tube socks that I finished for Phil. They are done. I do want to give them a little bit of a soak before I put them in his sock drawer, just because they're wool, and while they're not a really scratchy wool, they do have a little bit of toothiness to them, and he can have some sensitive skin, and so I don't want him to cause a problem. So I just want to soften it up just a little bit for him before he ends up wearing them. But these are finished. This is my finished object. Those are done. Moving into what my half-finished objects are, so then because those are done, and I do definitely need vanilla knitting. I need it for waiting for kids, for appointments, things like that. I cast on another vanilla sock, and since I only had 1 skein of this, these are going to be socks that are going to be for Abby and I, because we have smaller feet. So I can take a 50-gram ball of Felici, pair it with contrasting color for the cuff, heel, and toes, and I get a pair of socks easily out of a 50-gram skein for us. So that's the plan. The yarn that I'm using, like I said, it's Knit Picks Felici, and this colorway is called Stone Harbor. It's just a really nice colorway. I really like the colors, and I've finished the first sock. And I'm using like this light blue for the contrasting heel and the contrast. I have not cast on the second one for this yet. I'll probably do that later today or tomorrow and get the cuff going for the second sock for this, so that I've got that vanilla knitting on hand and ready to go, which will be awesome. The other half finished object I have is another pair of socks. These are a patterned sock. They're from the Helen, Stewart, the Handmade Sock Society. I believe they're called the Sailing School socks. I'll put the information down below for you. Again, you can check my Ravelry page. I am trying to update that much more frequently, and staying on top of it. So I have the first one done. This is the first one of those socks. Now I'm knitting these for a friend of mine for her birthday, which is later this month, so I want to get those finished. And I'm not very far on the second sock. I've done like half of a repeat. The yarn that I'm using is from Hue Loco, and the colorway is called Professor Umbridge. It was in her advent calendar a couple of years ago, and she dyed up some full skeins of some of those advent colors, and this was one of the colors that I liked, and I actually ended up grabbing like 3 of those. So these fit my friend that I'm knitting them for really well. Like, it's a really good colorway for her. So I am working on those for her birthday and making some pretty good progress on them. With the way things have been going in my life, a lot of just my knitting energy isn't there. I still knit every day, but it's just felt a little bit like a slog to knit things. That's why you're not seeing a lot of stuff that's finished, because life has just been really challenging the last couple of months. So we're doing the best that we can, but it's maybe not as productive as I would like it to be. The other work in progress that you will have seen if you have watched this channel before, because it's been going on for longer than I anticipated it to be going on. I really thought I'd have this done by now, but again, like I said, just the way life has been going, things haven't been getting done as quickly as I thought. But this is the Gardengate pullover by Jennifer Steingass. And I have completed the body and one sleeve, and I'm working on the second sleeve. So here is the beautiful color work yoke. And then I have one sleeve done, and it has color work on the sleeve as well. And I am just a few rounds into the color work on the second sleeve. So honestly, I'm very close to being done with this. Like I said, I just need to finish up the color work on that second sleeve, and then this will be done. And I can have my own color work sweater. Of course, now the weather is starting to get nicer, so if I can get it done in the next week or so, there's a good chance I'll be able to wear it, because we're still in March, and honestly, things don't start warming up consistently and regularly in Michigan until late April, early May. So there's still like plenty of opportunity to wear it. Oh, the yarn that I'm using for that is Knit Picks Stroll. This is the main color. It's called Pearlescent. And okay, so let me show you the contrast color, and then I'll tell you the weird thing that happened with this. If you follow me on Patreon and are part of my Discord server that you can get access to, you'll know this saga, and because I've talked about it there. but I'll show you that in just a second. The contrast color is also Stroll, and it's called Duchess Heather. So those are the colorways that I'm using. So when you are knitting sweaters, or particularly sweaters, but anything where you're gonna have to change your skein and you're using like a hand-dyed or a variegated or tonal yarn, you wanna alternate skeins as you're knitting. It helps to avoid like weird pooling situations, right? That's what everyone tells you. This is what you do. Okay, so I'm getting ready to go ahead and knit, get the body done. I only used one skein for the yoke because it was color work. And there's like no way, it's that I'm gonna be trying to switch skeins while I'm doing color work, plus do helical knitting, and it was just not gonna happen. So I did use the same skein for the yoke and the color work portion. Once that got done, that's where I started to alternate my skeins. But look at what happened. It's striped. I was like, what? What? I have stripes on my, not intended, not expected at all, because this is a tonal yarn. I wasn't expecting it to stripe. The sleeves didn't stripe. Well, I guess they kind of did a little bit. I guess the sleeves did kind of stripe somewhat. But I was not expecting the striping pattern like that to happen at all. I was completely shocked. And I debated about what I wanted to do with it. I didn't know what to do because the stripes were so thick that even if I had not alternated skeins, I still would have had a striping effect. So I debated, do I rip it back, maybe pull from the other end of the second skein? What do I do? In the end, because it was just too much to rip back, I decided that I was just going to embrace the stripes and roll with it. And the stripes have really grown on me. They weren't planned. I didn't expect them to be there at all, but they have grown on me, and I do like it. I like the fit of the sweater really well. I think it's fitting very nicely. Obviously, I still have to block it. It'll grow a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be too oversized by any stretch of the imagination. And so I like it. I like the fit. I've embraced the stripes. We're just gonna roll with it. I don't know what else to do with it. So that is my knitting. I've mentioned before on the podcast that one of the things that I'm trying to do is to knit a lot from stash and not acquire new yarn. So far, I've been very successful in that. The only yarn that I have purchased all year is Legacy Fiber Arts did their Valentine's Day collection, and so I did get the minis. So it was like 4 minis because I want to start a new blanket, and I thought those would work well for that blanket. I haven't started that blanket yet. We're not there yet, but that's the only yarn that I've acquired this year, and I feel really good about that. I want to knit down stash some and just knit down stash and not spend a ton of money on yarn. We'll see, like, as we get later in the year when people start listing advents. I would like to do an advent again, just because that's something that I've really enjoyed doing. So I would like to do an advent again, but we'll just have to wait and see once we get later in the season how things go. And then the other yarn that I have given myself permission to purchase, if it ends up happening that way, is yarn for Stephen West's MCAL that he does in October, because I always do that. So that's the other yarn that I'm giving myself permission to purchase. Other than that, I'm gonna try really hard not to purchase any yarn and just work off of my stash and see what we can get done. Even if it's, gifting a bunch of stuff, that's fine. Whatever we can do. So that is the knitting. That's all you're here for. I do want to thank you for sticking around, for listening to my knitting chat. I do have a Patreon page. Right now, the only things that are happening on Patreon, there's just one tier. It's $1 a month. It gives you access to a Discord server where you can communicate more directly with me. I haven't been the most active on that because life. But the thing that I have also been trying to do with the Patreon is post weekly work in progress updates. for those people. So if you're interested in that, like I said, it's $1 a month. I wanted to make it really accessible to everybody while creating a space where you have closer interaction and connection with me and creating a better sense of a community than what this is YouTube, what YouTube allows. So, and you also get early access to my videos when they come out. So I post them for my Patreon and my Discord a day before I make it available to everybody else. So you get them early if you're interested in that. So it's just, like I said, it's $1. If that's something that you really would like to be a part of, if you really want to join the Discord server and, you know, that's just not within the realm of possibilities, please contact me and I'll, you know, I don't want it to be difficult for people. I just want to keep out people who are not part of the community and who wouldn't necessarily create the atmosphere that we're all looking for. So let me know if that's prohibitory for you and we'll make arrangements. Okay, so that link and stuff is down below. Thank you for watching the knitting portion. I'm gonna catch my breath for a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about what's been going on life-wise. So as far as what's been going on for me with my life, like I said, the last 2 months have been pretty challenging and pretty difficult. I don't want to go into a lot of detail here about what that has looked like because it's not necessarily my story to tell. Suffice it to say that within our house, we've been dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and I've also been struggling with my own mental health through this whole process and just kind of dealing with all of that. It has not been an easy road. It's still not easy. We're still trying to sort things out, but I think we've done all of the right things. It's just a matter of time for things to start to get better from that mental health perspective. That has really been very taxing on me emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, because the long COVID stuff still is here. It still lingers. It still dwells. I still struggle on a daily basis with all of that. And the added mental health component has really increased all of that fatigue as well. As many of you who have struggled with mental health issues know, a lot of times like fatigue will go along with it because you're just exhausted from dealing with the mental health. And so it has been exhausting. We have not had a quote unquote normal week since before Christmas. And that has been really difficult to help fall into a rhythm of the new year as well. Like we have not gotten into a new year's rhythm at all. And we're already into March. So that has been very difficult. It's just been a really rocky 2022 so far. I'm hoping that as the weather is starting to get better, as the sun is starting to peek out, as things start to warm up a little bit, so our spirits will lift some, because definitely the winter gets difficult in general around here. So hopefully the shifting of the weather, the coming of spring, will make things feel a little bit better. One of the things though that we did do as a way to help with the mental health situation is we adopted a cat. Now, I am not, generally speaking, a cat person, but I physically was not in a place, or financially in a place, to look at getting another dog. For those of you who don't know, we had to put our dog down about a year ago, and that was really hard on everybody. He was a really big source of companionship for me and comfort, and things have not felt right with him or not around. So we decided to adopt a cat. We went to the local shelter and found a cat that everybody kind of connected with, and we brought him home. And so we've had him for a month, just under a month now, and he's fitting in really well. I'll try to I'll put in a picture of him. If you are on Patreon or Discord, you will have seen him. His name is Rysand. He's named after a character in Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's a series that Abby really enjoys, and I also enjoy, and that name just seemed to fit him. So his name is Rysand. We call him Reese, and he is part of the family now. They said he was a year old. This cat's not a year old. He is maybe 9 months at the most. He's definitely still very kitteny. But that being said, he's been a really good cat. He's really well behaved. He doesn't like scratch up anything or bite and chew on anything, but he has his playful moments is all that tend to happen when we want to go to bed. So he's been a really welcome addition to the family. So we're glad to have him. And that is going to encompass all of our life stuff, because all of the mental health things have really kind of encompassed everything for the last couple of months and has been the primary focus. And I know it will get better, and I know we will get through this. We're just not through it yet. So it's a little bit of a struggle at the moment, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're going to get there. Everything will be okay. That's what we keep telling ourselves. So that's all I've got. I will try to not go so long without recording. I don't know. I may just set the goal of trying to record once a month for right now, at least until we get through this and I have a little bit more energy to focus on things. If you are interested, click on the link down below for the Patreon access. I'm going to try to be a little bit better about the communication on Discord and working on that a little bit more. It's going to be my goal going forward through March. So thank you all for sticking around, for watching, for being an amazing community and an amazing source of support. I thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to me, so thank you. I hope you guys enjoy the coming month, the spring that is starting to creep around the corner for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. So enjoy that, and I will talk to you soonish. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, keep knitting, and I'll talk to you then. Bye. Allow me to introduce you to Rysand. He's kind of sleepy at the moment, but this is Rysand. He is the newest addition to our family, snoozing on the couch because he woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, this is...